Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Full Force News Burst Live special with me, Christopher McLeod AKA Diagnostic AT, brought to you by GeneralsJoesReborn.com. My goodness, what a technical issue evening it has been. You may have recalled from, just before we get into what's happening today, you may have recalled from yesterday's burst when we talked about those images of Sentor, courtesy of Michael, that we had a bit of a camera issue and it was kind of not connecting and all that kind of good stuff. I have troubleshooted the crap out of it, and finally we seem to have got things fixed. Don't know what was going on. It might just have been an update issue, but it seems to be fixed now. So hopefully we won't have any camera issues. Famous last words. Now, that's why I'm late coming on. I did actually set up a whole live stream and then had to cancel the whole thing because I had to do full-on reboot, reinstall, all sorts of stuff. So that's taken about half an hour. So I'm already behind massively. I was going to go live about 7 and it's now like 50. Oh, it's now like 10 to 8. Anyway, irrelevant. We've had more images courtesy of Toy du Jour of two other figures in that SUPER7 G.I. Joe Reaction Plus Wave 2. Yes, Fatal Fluffy and Ramar. So we're going to be looking at those. I don't know if Duke has popped up anywhere yet. Haven't seen an image of the Duke figure from that wave, nor have I. And I will say this, there will be another figure in this wave. It will be the Target exclusive situation. And we haven't seen anything of that yet. Now, apparently these are showing up in stores, and that's where these images are from. They're from people finding them in Target. So, Sentor, Fatal Fluffy, and Raymar down. I'm sure we'll get images of Duke pop up at some point. And of course, that other mystery figure. Sounds like a job for Mainframe to fix, says Jeremy. My technical issues, absolutely. Hello, everyone in the chat already. Let's get stuck into this, shall we? And yeah, because we're already behind. Let's do it. So yes, Toy du Jour posted these images on their Instagram earlier today, and they look absolutely freaking awesome. Now, as I mentioned on last night's burst, I did say these figures were going to be bigger than the O-ring figures, but still have O-ring construction, and lo and behold, that's exactly what we've got. There was also that kind of conversation we had of, I wonder if the Fatal Fluffy will come with a little Fatal Fluffy, but no, alas, that is not the case, or at least from the images of these figures in hand, that does not look like it's going to be the case. So let's have a look at the first image that popped up yesterday, and that was of Sentor, courtesy, like I said, of Michael. He posted this image of this figure in hand. He had actually got this from a Target. I didn't realize that at first. I thought this was a leaked image initially, but no, he actually had purchased this from a store. So he, this is kind of what happens with the Reaction line, Reaction Plus, that kind of stuff with SUPER7. They show up before you see any official stuff of them. They start showing up in stores. They've done a really good job of that, actually. Obviously, I know that the listings leaked a while ago, but in terms of images and stuff, we've been starved of anything like that. So it's nice that, they're popping up in store already. So there's your Sentor, of course. That was shown off yesterday, like I said, by Michael. I will not attempt the surname because I butchered it last time. Sorry, Michael. It's in the description underneath in the video. And yes, and now, of course, Toy du Jour on their Instagram feed posted images of both the Fatal Fluffy and Raymar in package and out of package as well. So not only do we get these gorgeous carded versions of them, and I will say this is a much better card art scenario than Sentor's. I thought Sentor's looked a little bit not in keeping with the rest of the wave, and not in keeping with the rest of the other figures really at all, not just the rest of the wave, but the rest. We didn't know the rest of the wave really, apart from the cross-sell images, but just didn't quite give the same vibes as some of the others. And looking at the Fatal Fluffy and Raymar card art, I just want to say straight from off the bat, much better and definitely in keeping with vintage G.I. Joe card art. There's a real Raymar's got that Conan He-Man sort of kind of vibe anyway. I mean, He-Man's got a Conan vibe, but you know what I mean? It's sort of definitely kind of really, the artwork especially definitely kind of harks back to that vintage era. I really like it. Interesting proportion of the arm though. Very awkward looking by like tricep. It's like the tricep's bigger than the bicep. But in any case, it's much. I definitely kind of like a much better vibe than the Serpentor card art. And the Fatal Fluffy is amazing. Looks straight from the Sunbow cartoon. Brilliant artwork, and yeah, very much in keeping. What's funny about that is that most of that card art is completely covered by the massive bubble. You know, it's Raymar doesn't take up as much width-wise, but Fatal Fluffy does. But anyway, it's amazing. What are you guys saying in the comments already? Ryan Daly finally ordered the Night Force Falcon and Quarrel because it was cheap enough. Gonna gift Falcon to a friend, probably. Interesting, Ryan. To me, that was in my top like 3 of the top 10 of the classified this year. I loved it. That 2-pack. Passes, they look sick. Is Raymar still swivel neck? Don't know, actually. Don't know the details. That'll have to be an in-hand observation pass. Andrew Clark, evening all. Happy to make a live for the first time in ages. Great to see a Fatal Fluffy. Classified when, says Andrew. Yeah, hi, Andrew. First off, I would say that I don't know, it's a difficult, well, we've had a Nemesis Immortal, right? So I think if we were to get a Fatal Fluffy, it would probably be closer to what we've seen with what they've done with Nemesis. So taken from Sunbow, but sort of grittied up, you know, made it look like texturized and updated in certain aspects, not as kind of like crazy, but still kind of crazy. I don't know. I'd like to see one, but I don't know if that's on the cards. We'll have to pose that question to the team at some point, won't we? Raymar would be perfect even in Super7 110 scale in the Ultimate comic book bin. Says he'd work with Classified too. Raymar would be cool as well, but yeah, again, I'm not sure if they fit the Classified vibe. These guys, perfect for the O-ring and perfect for Super7, but yeah, it'd be interesting to see how, if and what, you know, how they would approach this, if they would approach it, you know, the kind of things they would change. Would it make sense? I don't know. Does anything make sense? Not really. So can you get away with it? Probably. There's an audience for it somewhere in Classified. Realsm says, I think it's awesome that they made these characters. Yeah, I agree. I think Super7 always do a really good job of delving into the deep cuts. And these aren't really deep cuts. They're pretty surface level for a Sunbow aficionado, aren't they? Or if even a casual cartoon watcher, you'd have seen Raymar in that first miniseries. You'd have seen Fatal Fluffies in the Pyramid of Darkness, almost certainly. They're iconic characters outside of watching the cartoon. They've kind of grown into this, you know, iconic status based on the very out there designs. These are exactly the type of figures I want them to make. They're crushing it. Fingers crossed for Cool Breeze, says Pass. Indeed. Scott Skeens says, going to finish Mass Device and Weather Dominator before we get to Fatal Fluffies, says Scott. That's true. That's true. That's true. Well, at least Mass Device with the Classified series. Who knows if they'll go into Weather Dominator as well? Maybe, but I think, you know, theme-wise, they could go anywhere, and they probably will. They'll probably bounce around a little bit. Slave says, they look great. Can't wait to see Wave 3, Pythona, or another female, fingers crossed. Andrew Clark says, that's exactly what I was thinking, Chris. Now that they've broken the Cobra La seal, I think the other goofy cartoon ideas could be adapted. Definitely a possibility there. Shannon says, I wish they would just do the old 2-up size for these figures to address their size difference while keeping with the O-ring style. They are bigger, Shannon. They're much bigger. We'll show you in a second in the next image. Bosh. They are much bigger figure characters. I know, like in the Sunbow's cartoon, Raymar comes across massive compared to Duke, but I think this is like this is a realistic size difference. And if you're going back to O-Ring back in the vintage era, it's probably what they would have done. If they'd done a Raymar and a Fatal Fluffy back then, you're looking at probably the scale they would have done them in, keeping them on card, keeping them like, you know, within the realms of G.I. Joe scale, at the same time making them much, much bigger. And this is what I kind of, when I look at this, I go, yeah, this makes sense. Perfectly scales with the figures. Again, Fatal Fluffies were very, very big in the cartoon, but I think you get away with this, honestly. I think this is a perfectly acceptable, and also, like, again, you kind of, I think you put yourself into that mindset of that era with the vintage era and the O-Ring, and you kind of go, what would they have done scale wise? They probably wouldn't have done massive figures, but like, they wouldn't have looked at that cartoon and gone, right, let's do it exactly to scale. They probably would have done this. And you end up with sort of like, I mean, they kind of look bigger than Visionaries as well, because Visionaries are obviously a bit bigger O-Ring kind of construction than Joe's, but they look bigger than that, indeed. So they've actually gone a lot bigger than I thought they were, because we were under the impression they were bigger than O-Ring figures, but only just. And that was what we'd kind of been informed on. And this is more than only just. This is much, much bigger. This is over 4 inches, I think. They're 375. That looks to be 4 or bigger. So, yeah. Anyway, that's pretty cool, I think, personally. But yeah, 2-up size would actually be massive, I think, in comparison, because they are 2-ups, is like double the size, aren't they? More or less. Need Amber in her wetsuit, says Ryan. Yeah, pretty much. 46 Zone says, wow, those 46 Zone says, wow, those look great. I could barely see someone using these parts to make modern era 4-inch versions of these characters. Do we know the price point for these bigger figures, says Andrew? I think they're all the same. I think they're $19.99 as far as we're aware. They do look well done, says Shannon. They do, don't they? I'm really impressed with the detail. I'm really impressed with the fact they've kept them vintage sculpt sort of level, but at the same time, there's a lot of detail in there. The Fatal Fluffy has a lot going on in that kind of, in the mouth, the eyes, the hair is beautifully sculpted. I like what they've done with the kind of the body and the legs, those kind of like almost like Colossus like armor. You know what I mean? Like when he switches to metal, the kind of like lines across him. I wonder if they'll do a 375 Raymar to cover his inconsistent model scale. But yeah, that's true, actually, Scott. There is an inconsistency to Raymar. I wonder if it's like almost like, you know, he grows and can kind of control that to make himself bigger. I don't know, but there's definitely an inconsistency in the cartoon for sure. Jedi Ben says, these just look fun. I've been met on the Super 7 line so far, but it's about time we got these figures from anyone. I'll take them. I almost sort of look at these figures and think I would really like them to do those Pyramid of Darkness, Skeleton Warriors, and Terracotta Soldier kind of guys. I would like to see those done in the O-Ring now, because the Reaction line, they did them obviously then. They were nice, they were fun, they were cool. But like now I look at these, I'm like, oh goodness, I kind of want this sort of size for the Terracotta Warriors and like a 3 3/4 Skeleton Warrior. I think that'd be really, really cool. They are a little bit bigger though, aren't they, the Skeleton Warriors as well? But I think the Terracotta Warriors are kind of definitely bigger than them. They would be, in terms of scale, they would definitely be 2-up size to the Joe 3 3/4 figures. In any case, I'd like to see them revisit those particular characters. Maybe like one in a wave down the line, and you know the other in another wave down the line, sort of thing would be kind of cool. Ryan says, for the troop builders in the group, how many fluffies are you getting? Good question. Good question. I don't know. I think these are really fun. I showed these to Kate when they came in, and she was like, oh, that's awesome. Obviously big fans of the quirkiness of G.I. Joe. And I don't know. If we see one, maybe we'll have a look at it. But at the same time, I'm not going to be army building them. This is definitely for the hardcore O-ring guys. It'd be not actually. I'm interested to talk to Pat and Adam about these particular figures, because I know obviously they have very strong opinions about what they want in an O-ring line. Perfectly within their rights to have those opinions, of course. And I'd like to see what they think about these. I haven't actually seen responses from them yet in the old groups, but I definitely would like their thoughts on these. And if Pat is watching, like he was yesterday, let us know in the comments, bud, what you think about these particular figures, because I would like to. Well, we're going to talk about it on the weekly anyway, aren't we? But I'd like to know in advance. How long before someone to 3D print a little Fatal Fluffy? I think we'll see it 46 zone. I think we'll see a little Fatal Fluffy at some point. Maybe not. We're not seeing it now, but we'll definitely see it at some point. Also, it's probably worth saying the Fatal Fluffy comes with the whip and a little laser pistol, much like we see in the cartoon, the Pyramid of Darkness. And Raymar doesn't come with any accessories, but he does have his knuckle dusters on there as well. But they're not really accessories, are they? But you know what I mean. You know what I mean. Luke says, finally, I will be able to retire He-Man in the Raymar role. That's fun, Luke. White says, sadly, my Super7 Tomax arm broke when I took him out. The package still have not heard back from Big Bad about a replacement. That sucks. I hope you can get it sorted out. I know it's happened to a few people. Pat as well. I think he had one damaged out of the package, but he got his replaced. So hopefully you can too. Shannon says, I would like to see Crake Cobra Commander from Cobra Civil War comics. That would be kind of cool at O-ring level, but also at classified. Yeah, any version of that Crake Cobra Commander, I think would be really cool. I liked how it was like the kind of the visor all the way to the top, and then those little kind of fangs just at the bottom of the helmet. I thought it was a really cool look, especially when you got a bullet through it. So, spoiler alert. Here we go. People talking now about how many they would get. I feel like I need to fill up the pockets of my Fatal Fluffy hoodie, so I got to buy it, says Pass. White says 3 to 5, maybe, but definitely at least one. 3 to 5 for the Fatal Fluffies. That's a good shout. In fact, how many do they exactly have in the Pyramid of Darkness? Is there an exact count on them, or is it kind of a little bit not clear? Is it a little bit unclear on that? Shanna says those look bigger than Captain Power figures. Also, I know they've definitely maximized the size of an O-ring figure. I think here. I think I say that Gentle Giant maximize the size of an O-ring figure, but you know what I mean. I think I definitely think they could. I definitely think they've maximized the O-ring construction kind of scale here to make it kind of practical and look right. And I think they look great, genuinely look great. Classified would be great, says Sean. Yeah, totally. I hope they change all reaction to this style. Or do you mean like make them all massive? Cheers. Andrew Clark, is this the first official Fluffy action figure? Yes, it is. Any idea when pre-orders will hit? Jason, they're out. So they're out in stores. So what will probably happen, it won't be pre-orders, it'll be in stock. So they're showing up in stores now. So you either find them at Target or you wait for Super7 to put them on their website, which will be last time we saw the Wave show up and then Super7 had them officially on their web store like about a week or two later. So it won't be too long after we've seen them now. Kitty said, indeed. They look about 4.5 inches, Kitty said, says Scott. Yes, indeed. Sean said, then the rap guy could actually look like they are rapping. Okay. Pass says they are scaled great. They look like they fit to the old line as opposed to, say, a Cops figure. Yes, exactly, Pass. Exactly. And that's true, actually. Cops figures were pretty massive, weren't they? They were O-ring construction. Yeah, they were pretty big figures, actually. I think probably Cops were like the biggest, and then Visionaries were a bit smaller, and then Joe. There's probably other levels in there now and then. There are probably even bigger ones that I haven't thought of. But yeah, Gentle Giant, as far as I'm aware, did the massive ones, the ones that are like 12 inches or maybe, yeah, I think they were like 12 inches. And you had like Grunt and Stalker and Snake Eyes and, you know, a bunch of kind of like those kind of early ones. Extreme Joe, Extreme, were they weren't necessarily O-ring though, were they? They were kind of like a different construction entirely and kind of a little bit stylized, right? They weren't exactly the same, were they, Carl, in terms of like the construction and the articulation? There was differences, quite clearly differences in that build. It was like a different thing altogether, Extreme, I think. Raymar and the Fatal Fluffy are such a great addition, says Joe. Yeah, I totally agree with that. The only one we're waiting on at the moment then is Duke. So if anyone sees that image, feel free. If anyone takes a picture of it or sees it out, and you know, feel free to send it on, because I'd love to see it and check it out. And of course, like I said, there is a Target exclusive floating around as well. So hopefully it won't be long before people start seeing that. It might be one of those things where you see it and you're like not quite sure if you're seeing a reaction or a reaction plus figure and you don't realize. So be aware there is going to be a fifth figure floating around in Wave 2. So it's Fatal Fluffy, Serpentor, Raymar, and Duke, and then another Target exclusive that will, again, appear on shelves before we see any official images of it. Extreme will like the old Toy Biz, says Mark and Rosa Bowers. Yes, that does ring a bell. Cops were 5.5 to 6 inches. Visionaries were 4.5 or 5. Yeah, I think it was about 4.5, wasn't it? Visionaries. Captain Power 4-inch. You're right, Scott. Yes, indeed. Yeah, there's lots of different like versions of it, of course, but in terms of, I'm just talking like in terms of different scales. And what I feel personally is I feel like this is like the perfect way to do a Fatal Fluffy and a Raymar within the 3 3/4 O-ring scale. And I think they've nailed it. I just think this is absolutely spot on. I'm loving it, to quote a famous fast food restaurant. But yeah, that is awesome. I wonder if Fatal will have a pre-Fatal accessory, says Carl. Well, no, it doesn't. This is exactly what it has. It is the figure, the whip, and the pistol. That's all it has. The little Fluffy, I don't know if it's going to appear some other time, but it doesn't come with this particular figure. Joe says, I live 20 minutes away from Super7. I may have to cruise up to the store and fetch these in San Francisco. Nice. Man, if I lived 20 minutes from Super7, I'd be there every day, just like sitting outside going, can I have a look at all your new toys? Can I have a look at all the stuff that isn't out yet? Can you let me in? They'll be like, oh, he's back again. Lock the doors, put the shutters down, get the modular fortification gun out, keep him at bay. Scott says that famous restaurant chain, McLeod's, indeed. Parr says, do Joe adjacent characters like Flint or Beachhead's kids fall under the license or not because of them being in different lines? That's a good question. But yeah, I think, you know, well, you'd have to get Cop's license to do Cop's figures at the end of the day. And Checkpoint, right? Was it Checkpoint? Something along those lines. Was Beachhead's like grandson or something, I want to say. Cops. Dun, 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 dun. Let's have a look. Yeah, his father, actually, sorry, my bad. So it was a son. Wayne R. Sneeden, Beachhead, indeed, yeah. It was Checkpoint. I was right. I was correct. So yeah, we did a whole episode on Cops years ago. We did like an audio podcast episode where we were doing alternate combined universe. So we did the combined universe at the time. So we did like an episode on, you know, your Micronauts, your ROM, your Visionaries, your Mask, your Transformers. We did all those, and then we went a little bit crazy with it and we did like, well, there are loads of other lines that have kind of that sort of connectivity with Joe. Cops was one of them. Then we were finding connectivity with all sorts of stuff and just throwing it in there. But yeah, we did like Cops was an episode, yeah, a massive episode, and really loved covering that one. Justin Bell obviously was on that episode too, talking about all of that because he had an amazing website for Cops. It still exists, I think, under the General's Joe's banner. But that was great. If it isn't still accessible, I think it is, then he should definitely pull that out of the bag again. Brian says, I just watched a short clip of the transforming Fatal Fluffies. The scene pans showing 8 or 9 of them, a couple breathing fire. Yeah, it's like, again, it's a bit ambiguous at how many there are, Brian, but I think, yeah, at any given scene, you could probably just, whatever scene gives you the max amount of, like whatever you count the most of, that's where you go, okay, that's how many there were. Joe Barrett says, off topic, but is there any word on mask? In what way, Joe? Mask being, yeah, there is technically. Loyal subjects have it, don't they? They have the mask license, and they're doing vintage sort of styled figures, vehicles, and stuff. There've been a few stories about it very recently. So that's your news on mask. Scott Skeen, Wayne Sneeden III. Yes, indeed. Carl says Doc can easily be retooled into bulletproof. Yeah, just do a new bulletproof. Well, maybe not easily, but still Doc seems like a good way to get to bulletproof. Or bulletproof. Bulletproof could be done as bulletproof, Carl. As in Joe's bulletproof. Another person of color in the G.I. Joe toy line. But yeah, anyway, absolutely awesome stuff. Yeah, so to answer that question, the Joe adjacent characters, yeah, you'd have to have both licenses. Now they have Transformers, so they could easily do just forgotten the name, Flint's daughter, Flint and Jay's daughter. Anybody? Why has that just gone out of my brain? That's gonna really bug me unless someone says it in the comments soon. Why can't I remember her name? That's unreal. Club did a figure of her and everything. Marissa Fairborn. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Carl. Thank you, Pass. Yes, Marissa Fairborn would be a possibility. Inhumanoids was another O-ring line. They were big, weren't they? I say O-ring. It was like definitely had rivets in the shoulders, didn't it? But they were weird shaped figures. The human characters, anyway. I know the monsters were kind of big, different kind of shapes and everything, but I'm pretty sure the figures had sort of like a build like that. I don't know, that just came into my head. Yes, got it. Thank you, guys. Thank you, Marissa Fairborn, and I'm on it now. Appreciate everyone who threw that in there. Any more rumors on deep cut classified figures? Would love to see the Mamba Men, says Jason Keane. Nothing that we haven't already talked about on, like, the listings and stuff like that. Yeah, nothing new has popped up that we are aware of anyway, Jason. But yeah, that is pretty much everything, I think. It's another short episode, isn't it, really? But I just wanted to put it on this one because obviously, like I said, we're still waiting for Duke. We've got Fatal Fluffy, Serpentor, and Raymar now, all check. And Duke, I would love to see an image of. And of course, that extra Target exclusive figure whenever someone sees it. So keep an eye out because, like I said, they're showing up in stores. And that's where they show up first. And then shortly afterwards, we get the kind of like the post on Super7 and they go up for order on their website. So yeah. Sergeant Savage O-Ring are about 4.5. Thank you, Beyonder. Bulletproof is also basically a cop in Joe DEF. It's like they were trialing cops. Yeah, there was a feeling. Yeah, big time. Pass says, in regards to Sergeant Savage, I'd love to see the rest of his team in figure form. That'd be cool. Yeah, I think like Super7 have got some options, haven't they? Stuff that hasn't been done or stuff that, we haven't seen much of over the years, or something along the lines of like a, not an improved version of something, but like a reissue, but kind of a different head sculpt, which is what they've kind of been doing a little bit now with, I'm assuming Duke's going to have a different head sculpt, but, you know, Cobra Commander and the Bat and CoverGirl and Snake Eyes, etc., etc. You know, there, you know, 3 of those in that first wave were effectively sort of figures that, yes, we sort of had at some point, but Snake Eyes is different. He's a comic version, I guess. It's different. Cobra Commander did have the different head sculpt and the Sunbow deco. And CoverGirl, of course, had the different head sculpt completely. The Bat, different head sculpt, different deco, brilliant. Love that. And Tomax and Zaymot, completely different sculpts. So that was really good to get them in their suits, honestly, in the O-ring line. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what they do with that Target exclusive. I wonder if it's going to be like if it's going to be a single figure or a 2-pack or something else. I imagine it'll be single figure, but that doesn't necessarily mean it won't, you know, it could be a 2-pack in the similar fashion to what they did with Tomax and Zaymot. But I don't know, I feel like it's going to be like a cheeky single carded figure. I have no idea who it is though. That's bugging me crazy pants. Anyway, that's all that's all we have for tonight. I'll leave it on this image for now. Like I said, images courtesy of Toy du Jour, Toy of the Day. Is that right? Because the Soup du Jour is Soup of the Day, right? So Toy du Jour must be Toy of the Day, if I'm not mistaken. Or if my Dumb and Dumber memory serves. What's the Soup du Jour? Soup of the Day. Anyway, so yeah, hopefully that's correct and I'm not ruining what Toy du Jour means. But anyway, thank you, Toy du Jour, for posting these images of the Fatal Fluffy and Raymar. The background. Oh, you mean behind? Sorry, someone's asked it was passed. What do the background colors represent, if anything? They seem to be quite random, the background colors, the yellow, the green. It's just whatever. I don't think they have any specific like rhyme nor reason to them. I think it's just all over the place. Jeff says Target exclusive Tiger Force Duke. It could be a repainted Duke, couldn't it? That's a good shout, Jeff, actually. That's a really good shout. And that'd be well cool. Because you'd have, you know, your Duke and then you'd have a Tiger Force one as well. That'd be really fun. That's not a bad shout, actually. Or it could be something from the previous wave repainted, couldn't it? Yeah. Is Fatal Fluffy a Yeti? Well, no, it's its own sort of creature. It starts off as a little. It's basically Gizmo, isn't it, from Gremlins? And you know, although instead of water and feeding it after midnight, it's like blowing a whistle and turning them into these giant monsters. Tiger Force Cover Girls has passed. Could be. Your French is good, Chris. Thank you, Comic Book Bin. Paul says totally. It could. I think. Mogwai to Minotaur. Thank you, Carl. Genius. Carl says, reminds me there's still a Photoshop in my future, but I have a version 2 Bat as the Dread Bat template with swappable faceplates and an extra piece that fits over like an engine scoop for the Bat. That's a good idea, Carl. Yeah. The Dreadnought Bat would be really cool. I can't believe it hasn't been done in some way, shape, or form at some point. Scott also says rando international character. It could be. It could be. Yeah, cool. Anyway, that's it for tonight's show. Hope you've enjoyed it. I will probably be back. It's Wednesday, for goodness sake. I've been on like every day for ages now. It's great. I'm happy. We've got news and stuff that Pat's going to be excited to talk about as well on Saturday. So yeah, I guess I'll see you on whatever the next one is. So don't forget to Stay Fresh Cheese Bags. Where did I put that hat? I'm not wearing it. Where did I put Stay Fresh Cheese Bags hat? I've lost it. It's usually like around here. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Really, does it? Stay Fresh Cheese Bags. And as always, after 3, you know what to do. Yeah, see you tomorrow, Scott. 1, 2, 3, 4. Force. Later. That's it for this instalment of the Full Force News Burst. Make sure to like, comment and subscribe. See you next time, and as always, Full Force. Make sure you get involved with the discussion by liking, sharing and commenting on these videos. And as always, you can keep up with the show after listening by following on all of our social platforms, links in the description. And if you would like to contact the show, you can message us on any of those platforms with feedback or questions. We also have a Patreon page, so if you want to show your support for the show, see your name up in lights on these videos, or enjoy exclusive bonus content, then check out patreon.com/The Full Force Podcast, or click the link on any of the posts this podcast appears in. Full Force.